What inspiration do you draw from the work of Ken Boulding? How does it fit in with the rest of your program?
Well, first of all, Boulding is not a typical economist. He's a Quaker, or was a Quaker, I should say. He's dead now, and he he ventures into areas that are important but neglected by most economists, like population and its effects. He thinks that when people have another child, they are imposing costs on the rest of society.
I guess they're possibly providing benefits also, though. The
Yeah,
child
and
has
he's
ideas and stuff.
also wrote about the economics of war, for example. Um, how far the when you've got two states, what determines where the borderline between them is? Basically, the power of a state is a decreasing function of this distance from the center of the state. So, the point at which they have equal influence is where the border tends to be.
Hmm.
Of course, you also have things like mountains and rivers, which are also tended. They're natural breaks in the landscape. So
Yeah.
that also is. Or sometimes where the, uh, the, uh, the two sides are fighting, where essentially uh, one side has control of everything up to this point, the other side up to that point. So the truce lines are where things form. I'm told that the Netherlands and Belgium is like that.
I see. But I think you've said he's one of the most influential economists for you. So, are some of these things you talked about really central to what you hope to do?
Well, I mean, I like his general attitude. Aside from the specific things that he talks about, I like the general attitude that he has. Like, when people talk about population flows, so you got births minus deaths plus in migration to out migration. He applies those things to the population of automobiles, for example.
Mm.
So, which people don't usually connect with that. So, generalizing in the right way, I think, is one of the things.
In terms of how he's thinking about the importance of population, is there any connection with what Derek Parfit tries to do? In terms
What
of
who?
Derek Parfit, because I think Derek Parfit is known for bringing questions about population into philosophy, at least, like thinking about future persons and such.
Um, well, I don't see any close connection.
Okay.
Parfit is a sort of a utilitarian who doesn't want to take the last step. So I mean, I admire his ingenuity. He's got ways of reasoning that lead to unusual conclusions. But yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't consider myself a Parfitian. And books have been written by Scandinavian utilitarians attacking Parfit at this very point, where he refuses to go to that final step, talking about what do they call that?
The repugnant conclusion.
Yeah, the Republican conclusion. So some of them say, well, I embrace the repugnant conclusion, but I think they would both agree that it's not particularly applicable to anything in the real world.
Sure. And since you sort of sounds like with Bolding, you're kind of emphasizing the negative side of having more children. Does that mean you sort of reject Julian Simon's thesis in The Ultimate Resource, where it almost sounds like he's echoing what Mao would say with two hands for every mouth, something like that, where more people means more ideas.
Well, I
So,
mean, the trouble with the two hands for every extra mouth is they're neglecting the other factors of production. You know, Mao presumably believed in the labor theory of value,
Mm.
so he counts only hands. He doesn't count the land that something is on.
All right. Well, forgetting Mao, how about focusing on Julian Simon, where I think he emphasizes more people equaling more people to think of creative solutions for problems.
Well, I think there is something to that too,
Okay.
because if you got a large number of people, you're going to get more original ideas, presumably, other things being equal. But you have to have methods of communicating these ideas to other people, and that might be more difficult.
I see. Is there anything else you draw from Ken Boulding's work that you think will be important for your own?
Oh, well, I mean, there's some negative conclusions. He has a very jaundiced view of what mathematics is about. He says it's all tautology, so let's forget about it. Obviously, I think that indicates that, and he does it several times. He does it even more. See, I'm talking about his book on. Let's see. I have two of his books here. The earlier one is the more important one, and but the later one is more. He repeats these anti-mathematical things several times more in that second book. So, and he talks about, you know, who would want to, you know, the consequences of conquering disease. He says, who would want to be an associate professor for 500 years?
So he's worried about the
In other
effects
words,
of.
if ranks are rigid,
Yeah.
it's pretty frustrating to be you know to be at the younger end of the of the totem pole, so to speak.
Did he have any ideas on solutions?
Well, I mean, I think you know, as a Quaker, he had a certain idealistic picture of human nature, which I think was behind some of his writing, even though he didn't write about it. He's also talked about the different kinds of economy. He says, you know, exchange is one thing, but gifts are another. I mean, he isolates as as a separate thing, which is not studied enough, the whole idea of philanthropy as part of the economy. So that's important too, and it typically is not assumed because you know you need basic different tools to deal with that. You know how generous people are, and their general attitude toward their fellow human beings, and what determines that. So that's important too. And he has books on general methodology. Uh, he has a detailed commentary on the relationship between stocks and flows. That's quite important. And it would help if you know calculus, of course. The rate of change of a stock is a flow.
But he doesn't use calculus because of his anti-math attitude? Is that what you're hinting at there?
Well, he has some mathematics in the book. He tries to say, so suppose you have a certain birth rate, which might be distributed by age. In other words, the probability of somebody of a certain age reproducing is going to be some kind of curve that goes up and then goes down again. And suppose you have death rates that are associated with various ages. And he tries to characterize the age distribution that you get if these things are both operating. You know, you get, if you have wars or droughts or epidemics, which change these things, you're going to get a different pyramid of ages, and that is going to change over time toward this equilibrium distribution. That kind of analysis, by the way, was first instituted by Euler.
Okay, so not original of Ken Boulding then.
No, but
Yeah.
that's okay. I mean, there are lots of you can't cover everything. I mean, have to make a list of the things that influence population change by age. He concentrates on age. There's also sex, of course, which I'm not sure he writes too much about that. But yeah, I mean, these are important things, and you can think of any number of different. I mean, economists tend to concentrate too much on equilibrium, but you also want to talk about disequilibrium situations and how they change over time toward equilibrium. So I think he has some. He has a book on economic methods which talk about these things. So you know, maybe not in the most expert expositions of that particular topic, but at least he thinks about these. So I like his versatility. He talks about a large range of things, some of which he may not be experts on. He has a book called, well, I mentioned war. You know, what determines the size of kingdoms and countries, and how it changes over time. Why do some countries rise at certain points, and some of them get smaller, some of them disappear entirely, some of them are taken over by others. So it's you know, you can come up with rather far-reaching dynamic conclusions. You'd have to stick in probabilities at these various things, of course, but you know,
Does his model actually work pretty well? And did he make any predictions that have been borne out?
oh well, I'm not sure he was in the prediction business so much, but he also talked about the concept of spaceship Earth. I believe he's the originator of that particular phrase. Um, you just think of the Earth as one single country, and what happens from then. So
So you could say he's an early environmentalist, I guess.
he is an early environmentalist, and you know, I mean, he thinks of the human race as one entity, and he didn't have to go to the moon to get that concept. So you know, he's just imaginative, more so than most economists. I wouldn't say he's the most imaginative person who ever lived, or you know, or even among his contemporaries, but people who have this level of imagination, together with being a very good economist, that's a rare combination.